The NBA may have cleared Terry Rozier, but not the FBI. This dude will never play in the league again. Rozier is done for life, just like Jontay Porter. Chauncey Billups too. Wait until you hear what he did that I have not heard talked about involving Damian Lillard. But these are two separate cases just announced that both involve NBA players and coaches. The first one we already knew about, but got new details on, including illegal betting with the Los Angeles Lakers. The other case is new. It's a poker game that Chauncey Billups played in. So who cares? It's poker. Actually, it was a bit more than that. These were rigged games connected to the mafia. So when someone didn't pay, they would threaten violence, even held a guy at gunpoint who refused to give them what they wanted. But is Chauncey really guilty? Well, can you believe 2 years ago, a pro poker player called Chauncey out on his podcast, said they knew the game was rigged but couldn't prove it.
There was this game, it started in LA and then it came to Vegas for a few days, and it was all built around Chauncey Billups. It obviously was for sure confirmed to be cheated, but there's just no recourse. Well, it's tough too whenever you're dealing with somebody high profile like that, because it's this guy beat charges. You think he cares about you calling him a cheater?
Yeah.
Wow. And that was 2 years ago. Chauncey is cooked. But at the same time, I have to acknowledge these two cases aren't directly connected, so why announce them together? And why now? Some people are accusing the FBI of being biased against the NBA, trying to send them a message about how they speak and not going to the White House after you win a championship, huh? Well, the FBI director was asked about that to his face. But let's start with the sports betting, because that's the really big one that affects the league. Info was used to place bets on the Hornets, Magic, Blazers, Lakers, and Raptors. Of course, we already knew about the Raptors. That was Jontay Porter. Sportsbooks noticed weird betting patterns on Porter's underprops, huge red flag, so they reported it to authorities, who then made arrests. Now, Porter said that he told associates that he was going to leave a game early so that the bet would cash. Well, now the FBI says Rozier did the exact same thing. March 23rd, 2023, game while he was on the Hornets. Rozier told people who would leave early about $200,000 worth of bets hit. But what about those other teams, the Blazers, the Magic, the Lakers? Well, the FBI says that Rozier and Damon Jones, an ex-assistant coach, would use inside info. The exact wording was, they misused information obtained from long-standing relationships with coaches and players to pass along betting information. So Damon Jones was a teammate with LeBron in Cleveland. Then he coached him in 2016. He was his personal shooting coach, okay? This man finds out that LeBron is going to sit against the Bucks last year. Sure enough, no Bron, and that bet hits. Then he gets info on Anthony Davis, and what happens next is actually kind of funny. So the indictment says that he learned from AD's trainer that AD was going to be out February 9th against the Thunder. So he then texts a guy named Eric Ernest, who pays Jones a $2,500 fee for the information. Ernest then gives that info to another guy who places a $100,000 bet against the Lakers. Then AD not only plays, but he plays his regular minutes and plays great. Lakers win, and the bet loses. Ernest then texts Damon Jones like, what the heck? I want my money back. But Jones or Rozier would have info on who wouldn't play on the Blazers, March 24, 2023, and they knew that every Magic starter was going to sit April 6th. The FBI says information on who wouldn't play came from a Magic player with a relationship to a defendant and was bet on. But Chauncey also gave info to that same gambling connect on his own team, the Blazers. Check this from the FBI. On March 24, 2023, the Blazers played the Bulls. Prior to the game, their record was 32-40, out of playoff contention. Co-conspirator 8, that is Chauncey, told the defendant Eric Ernest that the Trailblazers were going to be tanking, so Billups told Ernest before the news was publicly announced, several of the Blazers' best players, including player 1, would not be playing in that game. I looked at Damian Lillard, that was the first game that he sat when they tanked. The information they'd be tanking and not playing Damian Lillard was not available to the public, so he gave inside info on his own team. That is banned for life type stuff. But he was also charged in this mafia poker game thing. The way that worked was ex-athletes were used to draw in these fish. were basically like rich old guys with a ton of money who want to play against ex-athletes, right? So the FBI says that Chauncey would lure these fish in, but the mafia already had the whole game rigged. They already knew what cards everyone had at the table. The way they did it was they used a rigged shuffler, an x-ray table, so if you had the cards down, it knew what cards it was, and a camera inside the chip holder. Then they would relay that info to people at the table and tell them exactly how to play. They stole about $7 million in total from these fish guys. So this is a big announcement with a lot of guys from the NBA. So why are people saying it's political? Well, let's start with the fact that the NBA as a whole is not the most friendly to this administration, right? In 2017, the Warriors were the first team to refuse a White House visit after winning their championship with Trump in office. And speaking of Trump, Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich frequently go off on him. Pop once called him a soulless coward and a, quote, pathetic individual, a small man who has to make everybody around him smaller, so he thinks he's going to be bigger. Well, that's not very nice. But during the pandemic, the NBA, by far the most outspoken league, which led Trump to call them basically a political organization. So the theory is he is now going after them for speaking out all these years against him. But where is the evidence of that? Well, these are two completely separate cases. The mafia was behind the poker game, not the prop betting thing. That was just a group of shady gamblers. The connection was Billups and Damon Jones. They seem like two shady friends doing shady things. But the FBI makes it sound like it's this big NBA conspiracy.
Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Cosa Nostra.
Okay, La Cosa Nostra is the mafia. He's putting their names together, the NBA and La Cosa Nostra, like they're in on it together. These are two completely separate cases. But when asked again, he said this.
This is the insider trading saga for the NBA.
What is? The sports betting or the poker games? Why would you not make that distinction unless you're trying to make the NBA look bad? So yes, the FBI wants to make sure the entire NBA looks bad here, no question. I mean, what other reason is there to do this now? Rozier investigation been going on 2 years. It wraps up now when the season starts. But at the same time, these guys look guilty as hell. We could see a coach and Hall of Famer plus another player get banned for life. Now, I know a lot of people say legal gambling is to blame, but shady stuff has been going on for years. We only know about this from legal gambling. Sportsbooks caught Jonte Porter unders, reported to the FBI. That never happened before legalization, all underground. So this whole thing is deeper and more messed up than we thought. We'll just see if other names come out once these guys start talking to the FBI. But how about some good news? The NBA season did just start and the Rockets looked great despite Kevin Durant having an off game. It looks like they need just one more trade to actually contend. So what kind of trade could they make?